and dimension to what we have so far. When we put fog into the scene, it's going to serve two purposes. One, obviously, the fog effect itself. We have this slight haze in the distance. And secondly, there are parts of our image which are rendering completely black. So you see over here, that's going to help to bring out some of that detail by having something else to reflect as well. So let's just build this. We bring in a physical sky. Let's once again enable our interactive renderer. In the physical sky, we're going to turn off the sky itself and the sun, and then we want to turn on the fog. Let's go to the fog settings, and under color, I'm going to just temporarily disable this up here and then pick a color from our image. So one of these warmer colors, maybe make it more pink with a saturation of about maybe halfway, so 50%. Now, depending on what image you have used in the background, you want to pick a fog color that goes with it. This is just for this example. It's too dense, so let's set the density down to, let's say, about 20%. And I'm gonna set the start height to be -2000, which is gonna be below the floor level. And the end height is gonna be the opposite, so +2000. This is going to make the effect stronger, or appear stronger. So let's once again go to the density and then drop it down to maybe half. So let's say 10%. So very quickly we have created our fog and atmosphere effect. This is the difference with and without. And our sunlight here is also lowered in intensity. That's because we're looking at it through a layer of fog. So we have to make it brighter to compensate for that. If I open this up and go to luminance, let's set the brightness to 300%. So just a bit higher, and we can do the same for our sky image. Let's go to the brightness and maybe bump it up to only about 120. So not a huge difference, but the mix mode should also be set to multiply for this to work. And that's the difference there. And because we are using the fog effect in Cinema 4D, I'm going to show you a glitch which is going to occur anytime you use fog. Let's render this one frame to our picture viewer for comparison. If I go to the render settings over here, and in the output section, let's set the width to 1920 and the height to 1080. The frame range is set to current frame only, and I'm going to untick save because we don't want to save this to anywhere. We just want to output it to the picture viewer. Let's minimize this for a moment. I'm going to save the project and close it. So File, Close, and without changing anything, let's just reopen the project and render the same frame to the picture viewer. So frame 96. And when we first look at this, it might look similar enough, but if I compare it to the previous frame, you can see that on the original frame, the fog rendered correctly, but on the new one, the fog has almost disappeared. And this will happen every time you use fog in Cinema 4D and close a project and reopen it again. Cinema 4D does not reinitialize what the fog is supposed to look like by default. So we have to force Cinema 4D to do this, and the best way is to animate one of these values. So let's say the start height. At frame 0, I'm gonna just set this to -1999, set the keyframe, move forward one frame to frame 1, and then set this to what it's supposed to be, which is -2000, and then keyframe that. So by making that slight change between frame 0 and 1, this is going to force Cinema 4D to render the fog correctly from that frame and the rest of the animation. So it means we may still lose that first frame, but since this is a loop, the first frame from our animation is identical to the last one. So we are always going to be taking out the first frame from the final render anyway. And if it renders incorrectly, it doesn't matter because it's going to be removed from the final sequence. Anyway, that's the fog glitch in Cinema 4D. It's just a weird quirk in the app, which has been there for years and it still hasn't been fixed. So, until it gets fixed, it's something I have to mention just so everyone's projects render correctly. Okay, and that's it for the fog. In the next lesson, we'll look at other ways of changing our scene to make it look different.